Tick tock, the clock is ticking on Diddy because on Friday he finds out what his sentence is going to be. But today he found out what prosecutors would like that sentence to be, and it is vastly different from what his attorneys have suggested to the judge. Prosecutors want him to do 11 years, just over 11.
The Combs family didn't just respond to their father's prison sentence, they flipped it into a streaming spectacle. And the opening episode feels less like healing and more like a confession dressed up as a comeback story. Most people thought the sons would go quiet, lay low, and let the lawsuits and convictions slowly fade into hip-hop history. But then the trailer hit, and suddenly the whole plan cracked wide open. Insiders connected to Zeus Network say this project isn't only about defending their father. It's a strategic push to reshape the narrative from the ground up. The timing raises eyebrows. While the ink on the felony conviction is still fresh, the rollout lines up perfectly with a crucial appeal window that could either change everything or make matters worse. At the same time, Justin Combs is named in a Los Angeles Superior Court filing tied to serious allegations from 2017 involving claims of deception and confinement at a Beverly Hills property, claims that are still being contested and reviewed through the courts. Then there's Christian Combs, who quietly removed a public threat aimed at 50 Cent shortly after a rival Netflix documentary climbed to #1. That series leaned heavily on pre-arrest meltdown footage of their father.
It ended up going to 50 Cent and his production company, and it's kind of the centerpiece.
Sold to them.
Yes, was the centerpiece of the documentary. So watch this particular scene because this is where a lot of people feel Diddy really screwed over someone that he should be very, very thankful for.
Footage Sean Combs allegedly tried to suppress after commissioning it himself. Now, the Sun's upcoming documentary promises the truth, but their own legal paperwork paints a far messier picture. Here's the question nobody wants to ask yet. If this is really about justice, why drop the series in the same year their father's final appeal could collapse? Because unedited footage, the kind never meant for prime time, still exists, and someone already pulled that trigger once. The second the Combs brothers documentary trailer hit the internet, the mood flipped fast. This wasn't curiosity or simple doubt, it was a collective oh no moment. People instantly clocked this for what it really looked like, not a rescue mission, but a last-ditch performance from a family that already lost control of the story. Zeus Network claims the series exists to give Justin and Christian Combs a platform, a chance to humanize their father while he serves a 50-month sentence in a New Jersey federal facility. That's the official pitch. But the precision of the rollout, the heavy staging, and the silence from their legal team all scream strategy, not sincerity. The dates tell the real story. The documentary announcement landed in late December 2025, just weeks after 50 Cent's Netflix series Sean Combs' The Reckoning exploded with 22 million views in under a week. That series didn't just revisit accusations. It dropped never-before-seen footage of Sean Combs unraveling inside a New York hotel room while his own legal team warned him the walls were closing in. That footage, which his team claims was taken without permission, didn't come from some outside investigation. It came straight from his own archives. He commissioned it himself, unknowingly recording his own collapse, and now his sons are walking into the same setup, promising transparency while their own unresolved legal issues hang over every frame. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. The trailer shows Justin and Christian watching clips from their father's trial in a screening room. Their expressions aren't confident. They're tense, guarded, almost resigned. The voiceover promises the truth, but the visuals quietly suggest something very different. Two young men who grew up wrapped in their father's spotlight are now standing face to face with his downfall. What's being whispered behind closed doors is that this documentary wasn't really their idea at all. Sources close to the situation suggest the push came from higher up the chain, maybe from inside their own circle, maybe even directed by their father himself from behind prison walls. If that's true, then this timing isn't accidental. It's a straight-up gamble. The series is slated for release in 2026, the same year Sean Combs' appeal could decide everything. Either he walks free or the door closes for good. This isn't a comeback tour. It feels more like a public farewell, and if it works, the real question becomes this. What kind of man steps out of prison only to see his son spend a year reopening his past on national screens?
Absolutely. My name is Big Homie.cc, yes. Former celebrity bodyguard, 16 years. I converted my business to protecting women and children, combating human trafficking. Last year, we brought on 17 missing women, 4 children, 3 girls, 1 boy. So yeah.
But the biggest issue isn't what the documentary shows, it's what it leaves out. Justin Combs, the older brother, is currently named in a lawsuit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court tied to serious allegations dating back to 2017. The filing claims a woman was misled about a job opportunity and brought to a Beverly Hills property, where she later says she found herself unable to leave. These allegations remain unresolved and are still moving through the legal system. According to the lawsuit, the claims don't stop at association. They describe Justin as more than just nearby, alleging involvement in actions that echo the most damaging accusations surrounding his father. Whether proven or denied, that shadow hangs heavy, and its absence from the documentary raises louder questions than any trailer ever could. And yet, none of that chaos shows up in the trailer. There's no mention of the legal pressure circling the brothers, no acknowledgement that their own issues might complicate the image they're selling. Instead, the trailer ends on one chilling moment, a prison call from Fort Dix Federal Correctional Institution. Sean Combs' voice cutting through the silence like a quiet warning. The real question isn't whether he's involved, it's whether he's still calling the shots. While that hangs in the air, Christian Combs has legal trouble of his own. In April 2024, a lawsuit was filed accusing him of misconduct during a yacht trip in December 2022 on a vessel chartered by his father. The complaint alleges unwanted physical contact, pressure toward an intimate situation, and retaliation after the woman resisted. The case is ongoing, but the allegations alone carry serious weight. That context makes Christian's recent online outburst look less like confidence and more like panic. After 50 Cent's Netflix series premiered, Christian posted a now-deleted threat aimed directly at him, claiming he'd confront him if they ever crossed paths. The message barely lasted an hour before disappearing, but not before 50 Cent fired back with a sharp response questioning Christian's status, independence, and credibility. That exchange wasn't just internet noise, it was a power check, and it ended fast. With legal questions hanging over him and his father's reputation in pieces, the threat now reads less like loyalty and more like someone running out of options. And looming over all of it is the footage. The Netflix series draws heavily from clips filmed just days before Sean Combs' arrest. Footage his team insists came from an unfinished private project. The kind of material that was never meant to see daylight but did anyway. Here's the twist nobody can ignore. Sean Combs has been filming himself for decades. Meetings, studio nights, private moments, everything documented, like he always believed the footage would one day protect him. He lived like a man determined to control the story forever. The problem now is simple. This time, he doesn't have the controls. The footage that ended up in 50 Cent's hands wasn't just leaked. Insiders say it was passed along intentionally. That detail changes everything. Someone didn't just lose files. Someone made a decision. Documentarian Michael Oberle, who previously worked with Combs-related projects, claims the material was accessed by a temporary third party while he was out of town. That explanation exists, but many close to the situation say it feels too clean, too convenient. The belief is that someone deeper inside the Combs circle knew exactly what that footage showed and made sure it landed where it would cause the most damage. And if that's true, the real question isn't who shared it. It's what else they still have.
Be at his parties, everybody. And like the first part of the party is normal. It's like going down on Woodville. It's normal. But the second part, when they come out collecting the cell phones, and one of the security guys, sign right here.
The Combs brothers trailer closes on a prison call, Sean Combs' voice slicing through the silence like a warning shot. It's meant to signal strength, control, presence, a reminder that he's still involved, even behind bars. But listen closely, because that moment doesn't sound like power. It sounds like a farewell. The Suns framed this series as their chance to reset the story, but the record is already written. Justin's lawsuit, Christian's legal issues, the unreleased footage still floating around, it all points in one direction. This isn't a rescue, it's a final stand. And history shows that final stands rarely end in victory. The real tension isn't about whether this documentary lands. It's about what happens if it crashes. Sean Combs' appeal is still hanging in the balance, and if it breaks the wrong way, he's not just facing more time, he's staring at a future where his name becomes tied to everything he spent decades running from.
Never would have prosecuted him if it was just a manic.
They prosecuted him on all these other things, and they did find him guilty of this, so that still counts.
The jurors don't always get it right. We don't have to agree with their decision.
I just don't know because I wasn't sitting in the courtroom. And you've got to see the witnesses. Why didn't they believe Cassie? Why didn't they believe Jane?
At the same time, his sons are dealing with lawsuits that could follow them long after their father's legal fight ends. And then there's 50 Cent. He's not sitting back, he still has the footage, still has the reach, and history says he's far from finished. The Combs family might believe they're reclaiming the narrative, but the truth is, it was never fully theirs to control. That story belongs to people who've been waiting on this moment for years, and they're not letting go now. What almost nobody is asking is why the documentary's release lines up so perfectly with the appeal timeline. 2026 isn't just another calendar year, it's decision time. Sean Combs could either walk out free or watch his final shot at redemption disappear. If the appeal fails, this documentary becomes the last word, a final attempt to frame the story before the doors shut for good. And if the appeal succeeds, a different question hits hard. What kind of man steps out of prison to see his son spend a year reopening his past? And does he call that loyalty or betrayal? No matter how this plays out, one thing is clear. The Combs family isn't in control. They're reacting. And in a game like this, reacting means you're already behind. That's the part nobody wants to admit. This documentary isn't a power move, it's damage control. What's also being ignored is the footage that hasn't surfaced yet. Sean Combs didn't just document the days before his arrest. He filmed his entire life. From the peak of Bad Boy's dominance to the slow unraveling that followed, everything was archived. What landed in 50 Cent's hands was only a sliver, a carefully chosen piece of a much larger vault. And if someone was willing to release that, there's nothing stopping the rest from coming out. That's why this documentary isn't really a fence, it's waiting. Waiting for the next leak, waiting for the next reveal, waiting for the moment when control slips even further away. And when that moment hits, it won't be handled through streaming platforms. It'll be a full reckoning.
Yeah, it's not surprising that they tried to get out in front of this and tried to persuade Netflix not to come forward with it. I think it's an interesting argument because what they're claiming is, Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, has had a long-standing, animosity against Diddy and sort of vice versa. And because he's at the helm, they're arguing this can't be taken seriously. This should sort of be seen as propaganda. And one of the things that Netflix hit back with was, yes, he's the executive producer. He doesn't necessarily have creative control.
There's one detail in the trailer that doesn't sit right. Justin and Christian Combs are shown watching footage from their father's trial. Their faces caught between defiance and something that looks a lot like fear. That reaction raises questions because they weren't outsiders. They sat in that courtroom day after day. They heard the claims, watched the evidence unfold, and saw the verdict come down. So why do they look stunned now? Unless what they're watching isn't what the public saw. Unless there's something in that footage they were never meant to see. Something even they may not have seen coming. And if that's true, then this documentary isn't about clearing their father's name at all. It's about controlling fallout. Because the real story isn't what they're showing on screen, it's what they're desperately trying to keep off it. The loudest detail in all of this is the silence. Since the trailer dropped, neither Justin nor Christian has publicly addressed the lawsuits connected to their names. No statements, no denials, no effort to get ahead of the narrative. Just silence. And in moments like this, silence speaks volumes. The family may be projecting confidence, but the cracks are impossible to miss. The real question isn't whether the documentary can shift public opinion. It's whether they'll even reach the premiere without another bomb dropping. And history doesn't offer much reassurance. Because in the world Sean Combs built, the past doesn't stay buried. It waits. It waits like a trap. And his sons are standing right in the danger zone. This attempt to rewrite the story isn't bold. It's familiar. It follows the same pattern that led them here in the first place. This isn't the first time Sean Combs has tried to manage perception through a carefully staged return, and it likely won't be the last. But this time is different. The foundation isn't just cracked, it's unstable. The trailer may show Justin and Christian watching trial footage with serious expressions, but what it really shows is a family running out of moves, time, and places to hide. But the real footage, the kind that never makes it into glossy trailers, tells a very different story. People who've worked around the family for years say this move feels familiar. When the heat gets too heavy, roll out a new project, shift the angle, create noise. That's always been the play. The difference now? The noise isn't working anymore. The lawsuits aren't fading, the industry isn't lining up, and the public has already started looking past the spectacle. That's the part no promo can fix. Attention has moved on, and control moved with it. What's even louder than what's shown in the documentary is who's missing from it. Look closely. Where are the heavyweight artists who once circled the Bad Boy empire? Where are the industry power players? No major names, no longtime allies, not even the usual figures who'd normally rush to stand nearby. The only voices pushing this project are paid ones, and even they sound cautious. Insiders say the real push for this documentary didn't come from the Sons at all. It came from higher up, someone who still believes the Combs name alone can command attention, even if that attention is now wrapped in doubt. But here's the truth about doubt. It's just disbelief wearing polite clothes. Once the public stops believing, no amount of slick editing can pull them back in. That's the wall the Combs family is hitting right now. The timing isn't just about the appeal, it's about the moment we're living in. Sean Combs built his empire in an era where influence moved faster than accountability, where charm could drown out controversy. That era is finished. The industry that once protected him has flipped roles and started tightening the screws. 50 Cent didn't just shine a light on Sean Combs, he exposed the system that shielded him for decades. That's why this documentary doesn't feel like a counterpunch, it feels like a white flag. The Combs name isn't just bruised anymore, it's radioactive. The sons may believe they're fighting for their father's legacy, but every move only highlights how far it's already slipped. And the biggest question keeps looming. What happens if the appeal fails? Sean Combs isn't just facing more time. He's facing the possibility that there's nothing waiting for him on the other side. The music industry has moved on. Former allies have gone quiet, and now his sons are staring down legal battles that could define their futures long after his chapter closes. This documentary might be their last attempt to shape the story, but it's also the biggest risk yet. Because if the appeal goes the wrong way, this isn't a comeback, it's a farewell. And farewells aren't written for the living. The last piece of this puzzle is the footage that's still out there. Sean Combs didn't just record the days before his arrest, he documented his life for decades. Every win, every move, every moment. What ended up in 50 Cent's hands was only a fraction, just the surface layer. And if someone was willing to release that, there's nothing stopping the rest from coming out. The Combs family may believe this documentary puts them on offense, but in reality, they're bracing for impact, waiting, watching. Because when the next drop happens, it won't be handled with trailers and edits. It won't be a rollout, it'll be a reckoning. So this is where we leave it. The Combs family is gambling everything on a documentary that may already be finished before it even premieres. The sons are facing lawsuits that echo the darkest accusations tied to their father. 50 Cent still has the footage, still has the platform, and history says he's nowhere near done. The appeal decision is coming. The documentary is dropping, and somewhere, someone is sitting on the rest of the tapes. What happens when Sean Combs realizes he never had control of the story? What happens when his sons discover their final stand was just another move in someone else's game? And most importantly, what's on the footage we still haven't seen yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs to see it, and we'll catch you in the next one.